Unrivaled League needs Caitlin Clark, and they are preparing to offer her a massive. Right now, the WNBA is in full-blown panic mode after ESPN revealed yet another outrageous claim regarding this was anticipated by the WNBA, let's face it, and Caitlin Clark's unparalleled offer. The sole shining light who has been propelling the WNBA to new heights is Caitlin Clark, but what did she receive in return? A whole bunch of physical and racist harassment along with a ridiculous $775,000 raise, all while earning millions of dollars for the league for having to move their venues when she comes to play, and she's getting paid like $75,000 a year. She should be one of the top paid players in the world just for the sheer numbers that she's bringing. However, the Unmatched understands the worth of a true star. They're not only providing her with a safe haven where she will be honored, but they're also paying her for her talent. Don't listen to the amount they're spending for just 3 months of Caitlin's time. I promise it's well worth the money, and it has also been reported that Unrivaled 3 League offered Caitlin Clark significant equity in the league and a salary that is over $1 million. So ESPN made the shocking announcement that Unrivaled, a major international league, had offered Caitlin a staggering $1 million for just 3 months. This isn't a seasonal salary, rather it's nearly 15 times what the WNBA was paying her for the entire year, and all they're asking her to do is play for 3 months. Unrivaled is essentially saying, hey, we actually recognize talent, and we're ready to pay for it, while the WNBA is over here still acting like she's a rookie on a trial run, which brings me to something that I've also been thinking about. And I've told you guys in the past that I do work with the Big Three. When Caitlin Clark took the court, it was a packed house, and fans were buying her jerseys as if they had disappeared the following day. Caitlin was a walking, talking, revenue-generating machine, and everyone knew it. She was not just playing, she was running a one-woman show that had turned the WNBA into a gold mine. Tickets were selling for the highest price possible, and merchandise was flying off the shelves. It has been so clear for so many people the Caitlin Clark effects that she has had on the WNBA this season. We have talked about it so much on this channel. She has raised overall viewers. But here's the worst part: despite all the money she was earning, her actual annual salary was a ridiculous $70,000. Yes, you read correctly. $770,000 for the player who carried the WNBA to new heights on her own. They gave her what hardly qualifies as lunch money in pro sports, and the league was making money left and right because of her, while Caitlin herself was earning less than some mascots. This wasn't just about selling tickets, she was the name on everyone's merchandise, and when people arrived for the main event, the WNBA gave her a few pennies and called it a day. But when you're making such a buzz about all of these other players who are joining, and you're just not saying anything about Caitlin, or you're not putting aside whatever millions of dollars need to be had to get her into your league, I feel like it was a missed opportunity. Furthermore, she was receiving criticism for her skin tone off the court as well. That's correct, the WNBA had her play in what felt like a battlefield, and rather than standing by their biggest star, they abandoned her. Meanwhile, Unrivaled is not only promising safety, but also establishing the rule that they won't tolerate any of that bullshit whatsoever. The WNBA was supposed to be Caitlin Clark's big break, her grand stage to showcase her magic to a national audience, but instead it turned into a battlefield. After just one season, Caitlin went from being the league's hottest new prospect to a full-on target, taking hit after hit. We're not just talking rough play here, this was practically a brawl. And it seemed almost personal from the very first game. Her opponents seemed determined to stop her in any way they could, knowing full well they'd probably get away with it. List goes on, but there have been so many players, coaches, media personality who have been so afraid to just admit the fact that Caitlin Clark has been the sole reason for so many of these things happening this season in the WNBA. Let's talk about the incident that everyone remembers. Angel Reese did in fact go straight for Caitlin's head during one of the season's most heated games. There was no subtlety or holding back. Everyone saw it happen. The crowd, the commentators, the cameras, but the referees all went blind. There was no foul, no whistle, and Caitlin had to just shake it off and continue playing despite her obvious days. Seattle, and all of a sudden we're pretty close. This has been as close as it's been all second quarter long. 40 for the playoff nightmare followed, which drove supporters insane. The officials simply shrugged, no foul, no reaction, as if Caitlin were an invisible athlete who didn't require protection after she got a vicious eye poke, not a light tap, but a hit severe enough to take her off her game and put her at risk for actual damage. Once more, you've seen it, ain't nobody go for a ball like this, and then they hand go down like this. You go to block the ball, you would think she would do this, or to poke it out like this. How are you going to go for the ball like this, and then have your hand come down and hit it right in the eye? What happens when Caitlyn finally reaches her breaking point after all of this? It's one of those really stressful times when she lets out her rage and smacks the referees, who appear to have excellent vision, call a foul on her as if they had been waiting for this time after the Stanson fans couldn't ignore the double standard that was staring them in the face. But it was a red flag that she was apparently venting her frustration on a piece of equipment. But it was fine play when she was literally smashed in the face or jabbed in the eye. This wasn't a one-time incident. Although Caitlyn was expected to play by a set of rules and her opponents appeared to have unrestricted access to her, the league itself was silent about it all when you think about it. Every time she was knocked down, the WNBA hardly acknowledged her. It was as though she hadn't brought them record-breaking ticket sales and viewership. Following that playoff eye injury that clearly impaired her eyesight, the league refused to even acknowledge it. Did they release a statement or express any concern? Nope, everything went as usual. Keep quiet and hope she recovers and acts as like nothing happened. They hate her because she's white, she's straight, and more importantly, she's better than everybody else, period, end of story. And that's where Unrivaled comes in. They've been watching what Caitlyn has been through, and they're making it clear that they don't mess around with player safety. They have a whole different approach. They have rules that protect players instead of letting them get beat up with no consequences. If a player gets hurt, they don't just send a trainer. If it's serious, they have real proactive medical support ready to go the minute anything happens. We're talking about immediate top-level care, not a haphazard attempt to bandage them and hope for the best. It will be interesting to see how well this league does, how much these women get paid, if there are any significant injuries, but the WNBA is likely unfamiliar with the idea of considering what occurs following an injury, which sets it apart. After taking hit after hit, Caitlyn could hardly get an ice pack from them. However, with Unrivaled, they're not just about bandaging injuries rather than forcing players back onto the court as soon as they can stand. They're providing them with full-on post-injury support, monitoring recovery, providing treatment, and actually making sure they're ready to play safely. They want players to feel fully prepared, strong, and confident before they even consider returning to the game. The average WNBA viewership, okay, game 7,300 in attendance, okay, the average Angel Reese game is 10,100, 10,200. They come to watch her. You know what the average attendance is when Caitlyn Clark plays home or the road? What, 15300? Okay, there is more to it than just the physical mistreatment. In her first season, Caitlyn was drawing an average of 15,000 fans per game, which is not only impressive but also record-breaking when compared to the league's average of 7,300 fans per game the previous season. It's evident that Caitlyn was above and beyond. Instead of just filling seats, she was igniting a frenzy. The Unrivaled is the league where players are praised for their talent, so the offer is going to cause serious panic in the WNBA. Thanks for watching and subscribe my channel.